If if you can hear us, let me just do this.
Thank you, Eric Pun here. Sorry about that. Can you hear me okay now?
There you are. Yep. Yes, sir.
Right.
We're ready to go.
I thought I was in some sort of mobile phone commercial. Okay. Thank you very much for having me on today, and thank you guys here on the line for on today. I think we've got an exciting program here that we put together. We've been working on this with EMC for a couple months now. But a quick introduction, I look after global strategic alliances, our EMC relationship specifically, our channel part of that, on a small team of a few people here at VMware. What I want to go through here quickly is our joint value proposition, why this backup and recovery solution is potent and what's in it for you as sellers. And then I'm going to turn it over to Casey and Pooja. They're going to give you a little bit more detail on what this product is all about. So started. The recovery solution from EMC and VMware, we simply call it Data Domain plus VDP-A. There's three things that if you commit to memory, I think you can walk in any sort of partner engagement and just really provide them with a good amount of selling and a good pitch that will get their attention. So the first item here is simplicity. If you can imagine, EMC and VMware have gone through some very tight technical integration with our cadre of engineers and system architects who put this solution together. One of their goals was to make this really, really simple for customers. To that end, VDP-A is integrated in vSphere, and more importantly, it's the VDP-A product itself also is a front-end controller for data domain. So if you can imagine, you probably have customers or partners that have a whole lot of different solutions out there for backup and recovery. A lot of those customers will have to go through a certain amount of training and come up to speed how these things work. So again, simplicity is really important here. It's one of our main value propositions. Performance also. So as you can imagine, when these engineers get together and the propeller starts spinning, there's a whole lot of things they do to take out any of the extraneous data traffic and other types of things that will slow down the subsystem. So speeding backups up by 90%. Casey and Pooja will get deep into the weeds there on how that works. Redundant backup, so less burden on the storage device itself, which also then equates to a tremendous amount of value for the customer to be able to store a lot more data on a storage product that they've purchased, so good return on their investment. And with this sort of subsystem on the network, anytime it creates any sort of chatter, that's detrimental to applications that end users depend upon. So this subsystem sends up to 99% less data across the network. So it's a very performant subsystem here for backup and recovery. And favorite feature is its capability to provide enterprise-class, enterprise-like features for a very low value price point. So if you can imagine, if those of you that know what the EMC VMAX product is, or in the old days they call it Symmetrics, that product had the capability to have what was called site-to-site replication. It came at a huge price as well. Those things, if you were to buy two and all the software and consulting and integration fees, would be up in the millions of dollars. So what we'll show you later in the presentation here is a capability for this data domain plus VDP-A to be able to have site-to-site backup and recovery. Pretty potent solution there. So what's in it for you guys? What's in it for your partners? So this thing here is it's just a very natural upsell. So you can imagine when you're creating quotes for your partners or you're educating your partners on how to sell the EMC and VMware products, the natural thing is you probably will be selling lots of vSOM. or on occasion you may be selling vSOM with some vSphere licenses. So the natural thing to do in that same conversation is to impart upon your partner the whole idea of what you add into that conversation the need for backup and recovery. Everybody needs backup and recovery. Some organizations like healthcare organizations or financial institutions have very stringent regulations and compliance laws that they have to adhere to. So everybody needs a backup solution. Then for the reseller, for your partners downstream, you guys in the distribution world have a whole lot of power in that you have information on what those partners, what your downstream partners have sold to what customers. So if you imagine going into your database and just thinking about what that database may have in terms of customers that have purchased any sort of storage and VMware licenses that have not purchased any sort of backup and recovery solution like VDPA or in the E database you may want to look at data domain or Avamar, and then in the VMware database you may want to look at SRM. Any instance of a customer that has purchased through a given partner that has not purchased any sort of backup and recovery solution are ripe target leads that you can pass down to your partners. So think about that when you're speaking with your partners. Also, you may want to impart into your partner the idea that this solution will apply towards any of their subscription rewards if they are BCDR competency certified. And if they register the deals with 6 licenses or more, they'll qualify for the standard Advantage Plus discounts. And then as you can imagine, EMC also has its set of benefits for selling the data domain product. And the most important thing we want to share with you today is this $850 sales incentive. So for those partners that sell a joint solution based on data domain and VDPA and register that deal, they'll be eligible to have $500 for the seller and $350 for the systems engineer. So really good deal here. It lasts until the end of June. So get down to your partner level and start sharing this whole idea with them and share the whole value proposition on why this matters for their customers. Okay, I think I've given you as much as I can possibly provide today. I'd like to turn it back over to Casey. Casey, thank you very much for having me on. I'll be able here for any Q&A towards the end. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Eric. If you could toss the ball back over to me. Now we're going to dive into VDPA and what vSphere Data Protection and Data Protection Advanced really is. What are some of the better features for that product? But then also some of the messaging around how you can sell that. So we're going to start off with just a simple introduction, or hopefully this is more of a 101 level so that you can really understand what it is if you haven't had a chance to take a look at what VDPA is. But we can review the major sales points to talk about. So what is the history, or what's behind VDPA? Where is it coming from? vSpheres, VDPA is VMware's application and VM backup and recovery software that we use, fully integrated into vSphere, and we'll go into some of that integration. We've also partnered up with, as Eric was talking about, EMC Avamar and their technology, and be able to leverage the power of hardware deduplication and some of the technologies that they've pioneered in order to integrate that into our products. And really, there's a lot of different services that can be offered around VDP as far as how you can take care of your end users, your customers, and be able to sell this. So we'll go through, talk about what some of those features are, and really, hopefully, draw you to use as far as your conversations you can have for sales. And we look forward to having this conversation more with you in the future, too. So there's two editions of VDP that's available. VDP Standard, which is included as far with part of the vSphere Essentials Plus package, but then also has a few limitations because it's included. We have it scaled back. There's a few limitations there. We're going to go through an eye chart here in a minute that's going to go through and explain what some of those differences are, so it's really obvious. And really it comes to as far as being able to do backup data replication. When it comes to VDP, you can only use that data replication if you're using EMC Avamar, where if you move over to VDP Advanced, which we're going to talk about next, VDP Advanced allows you to do data replication in multiple ways. Also, there's features, larger scale. We've added some new license types for that specific SKU that also allow for additional physical CPU backups and backups of other software. So iChart and a lot of the definition behind this we're going to be going through here in this presentation as Pooja speaks and as I fill in where we can. Your scalability, your size of VDP is obviously a lot smaller. As you can see, your fees are less, and some of our better value features are available only through VDP Advanced. To explain this chart a little bit, you notice there's blue dots and green dots. Blue dots are what happened with VDP 5. And we're in 5.5. So the green dots are the additions or what we've added to make the product more robust, more stable, and really to drive more value in the market. Some of the bigger ones, though, being that of being able to do agents for SQL Exchange and SharePoint servers, being able to do the automated backup and recovery, and then really driving some better options as far as a strong product. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put it over to Pooja, and she's going to start talking here, and we're going to go through really a longer laundry list of exactly how these features work, what's there. And if you hear your phone unmute your phones here, we've been having a little bit of issue with our phone line system, but we're going to...
You're no longer muted.
She can go through and start speaking. So, Pooja, go right ahead.
Yep. Thank you, Casey. So let me go through some of the key messaging around the main differentiators that VDP Advanced brings to the table. And let's go ahead and use the acronym VDPA, so it just makes it easier. So basically, VDPA is specifically designed to solve points around protect basically mid-size vSphere environments. Really, all your SMB customers, your mid-market customers, folks who are basically looking to back up mid-size vSphere environments. That's what VDPA is specifically designed for. And with respect to one of the key differentiators that VDPA brings to the table is the efficiency and reliability of those backups, because it is based on variable length deduplication technology, which is one of the leading variable length technology in the market, which ensures that the backups are optimized in the most effective way possible, so they take up as little backup storage as possible. And so the fact that the underlying algorithm and technology is coming from Avamar, and it's basically kind of enterprise class technology available at a mid-market price point, right? So it's built there in the market, it's efficient, it's proven. So even though VDPA is relatively new since it launched, the underlying technology itself has been around for quite a long time there. The application awareness will help protect business-critical Microsoft applications very simply and effectively. These are lightweight agents, very simple to install and use, and they allow this ability to have granular backups and restores, as well as the ability to protect these applications on physical servers as well. And we'll have more details of that in the next few slides. And then the data domain piece, the seamless integration, which Eric talked about earlier. This is a great way for customers to actually scale their backup storage in the way they like. It also has very nice DR capabilities built into it, and again, we'll go into more details. But this domain piece is a great value prop for customers, both scaling out and improving their efficiency, as well as a great way for you to kind of increase your deal size and upsell the product. In terms of recovery, VDPA is unique in the sense that it uses the change block tracking technology, not just for backups like other vendor products do, also for restores. And this allows the restores to become 6 times faster than doing full image restores. Then VDPA comes with the ability to replicate data offsite, so you can have multiple copies of your backups in different locations now, and this is again a great option. And simple things like being able to verify your backups in an automated manner, non-disruptive way, also will help customers to improve the reliability of their recovery. One of the the best things I like about VDPA is the simplicity of the whole product. Basically, it takes away the pain of having to install something complex or need any Windows licenses. It is basically simply deployed in a few clicks. Typically, it takes less than 30 minutes to install and deploy actually. And then it integrates completely with the vSphere web client from where it is managed. And then it has all the simple of being able to do one-step VM recovery, file recovery both for the admins and end users, and then the ability that you are going to be managing this entire solution as a VMware solution. So it comes from the same vendor from whom you're getting virtualization, right? And all these feed into making the total cost of ownership extremely viable and cost-effective for market customers particularly. So basically, not just low licensing costs, also low storage capex and day-to-day operational expenses being reduced as well. So when we talk about the storage efficiency, it's always good to give a nice example of how it actually plays out in an environment. So we actually tested that real environment where we set up around 200 virtual machines. Usual size of VMs generally ranges from 6 to about 100 gig or so. Some might be smaller, some larger. But let's say about an average of 80 gigs per VM. 100 of them let out 16 terabytes of data with a 60-day retention period configured. If you were to back up with that 60-day retention period, you would need about 1,000 terabytes of backup storage capacity if there was no deduplication whatsoever. Now, there are quite a few solutions in the market which can be configured to have some kind of deduplication, and usually what they use is fixed length deduplication. And if this is used, then this same configuration will result in backup storage of around 71 terabytes being consumed. So that is extremely good. I mean, some kind of deduplication always helps. But actually use the variable dedup, which VDP-A uses, then you see that even this figure is actually cut down by a factor of 4 to about 20 terabytes of backup storage being used. So what is really, really high dedup rates that are available, and this is a very, very standard environment. Of course, it might differ depending upon the size of the VMs and the change rate and retention period that you configure, but overall, these are the kind of dedup efficiencies that you can get. If you check out some of the videos on YouTube for setting up the VDPA appliance and configuring a backup job, you will actually see some of the walk through how this actually plays out in the environment, in a demo format as well. The aspect of backup is not, you have applications specifically. So most of these mid-market customers typically tend to use Exchange, SQL, SharePoint as main applications. Some are virtualized. Sometimes they are not yet have not even virtualized. But in either case, VDPA brings to the table the ability to back these up in an application consistent way as well as with granularity. So for all of these, you can not do restores, but you can actually also back up at the database level. So you can do select databases you want from SQL or Exchange, and you can also restore at the mailbox level in Exchange. And then because this is possible on both virtual as well as physical, they are, again, all of this is managed through the same VMware web client UI. So this is there in 5.5. On the restore side, this is just a nice visual about how the change block tracking works where restore is concerned. Some of you might be familiar with the change block tracking for backups. Basically operates at the block level. So like in backups, in the case of restores, it is able to track which blocks of the VMs have actually changed and therefore be able to restore only those blocks back to the original location. And this actually translates to, from a customer point of view, is much faster recovery times back to the original locations. Those times could be speeded up by almost a factor of 6. Replication piece, this is new in 5.5, and we really hope that all the customers out there really know about this, because this is something that we got a lot of feedback on from the 5.1 release, and therefore we've gone ahead and put that in 5.5. And it is pretty good out there. The early feedback we've received is very, very good. With the application which VDP Advanced has, which is the ability to move backups now from one site to your DR site, maybe it feeds that same variable and dedupe efficiency in being able to transmit only those data segments which are not yet present at your DR site. So basically, it minimizes the amount of WAN traffic and then makes the bandwidth consumption very, very efficient for the customer. In addition, the replication stream is encrypted, and all of this comes without the need of using any kind of WAN accelerators. So you don't need to configure or manage or pay for any WAN accelerators. All this efficiency is built in. Now, some customers might have certain very, very critical VMs that they want to have much more aggressive RPOs on. And if that is the case, then you can remind them to actually use vSphere replication. Replication actually comes built in with vSphere Essentials Plus and higher. So all the customers who have vSphere should already be having this and should be using this for near-term DR for those critical VMs. And they want RPOs of about 24 hours, then they can use VDP to do daily, monthly, yearly, whatever backups they want. So given all of these features that are there in VDP Advanced, I wanted to compare them a little bit to some of the other backup vendors, and specifically in this case Veeam, because Veeam also, from what they say, has been built for virtual environments, and so is VDPA. And the key I want to point out here is that there are multiple editions of Veeam available, which is Veeam Enterprise and Enterprise Plus, as well as Veeam Standard. And when you're comparing the two editions, or when the customers are comparing them, it is good to do an apples-to-apples comparison. So for folks who want extremely, simple backup capabilities, nothing fancy, just backup a few VMs, they don't have applications, they don't necessarily need much replication. And in that case, they want very, very basic backup, in which we position VDP as a solution to combat with Veeam Standard. Because VDP already comes with vSphere, so they don't really need to. These customers don't really need to go out and purchase any, solution out there. They can just go ahead and use VDP and vSphere replication, and they should be able to manage their simple kind of backup scenarios. If they want additional functionality, and that's what they are willing to pay for, then it's either. Then let's look at the editions which are VDP Advanced versus what Veeam brings to the table. I'll do it in the different buckets out there that are listed on the slide. So on the management piece of it, which is, these ultimately mid-market customers, they necessarily have very sophisticated IT personnel and huge IT departments. So they really want to be able to manage their backups as easily as possible. So a solution which integrates directly with their vSphere environments, quick, easy deployment in less than 30 minutes, manage end-to-end through vSphere Web Client. And this is also coming for now physical applications, right? So this provides that ease of management for these customers, and much better than what Veeam can bring to the table in that category. The aspect is in backups. So I said Veeam does have deduplication. They do fixed length, but VDPA brings variable length dedupe to the table. So customers who are worried about how much of their budgets are going in backup storage, how much of their budgets they want to actually allocate to backups increasing over time, then these are the people who care about their storage efficiency, and for them VDPA will be a great solution because it brings that 25% more storage efficiency to the table. In addition, some of these customers may not have virtualized their Exchange or SQL or SharePoint, or they might be looking to do that in the future, but right now they haven't yet done it. These can also use VDPA because VDP, unlike Veeam, can do backups on physical servers as well now for these applications. And their domain piece, which is of course unique to VDPA because it integrates very nicely with data domain. It brings the ability to use the DD Boost software, for instance, which comes with VDPA, to make those throughput of the backups and reduce the backup windows better than other solutions can in the market. A piece that we talked about, the change block tracking restore, of course. So, much better, faster recovery to the original location so that the customer environments can be up and running. On the replication side, also superior DR capabilities. And this is not just with the WAN-optimized DR that VDPA brings to the table, without using man accelerators or anything like that, but also the ability to work in conjunction with vSphere replication for those near-term DR cases, or able to back up to the cloud, because VDPA is available in the VSPP program, which allows service providers to build services around the application and actually offer cloud backup capabilities, and also the ability that data domain, VDPA plus data domain, can also do replication as well. So a lot of superior DR capabilities depending upon what the customer wants to use and pay for. The other aspect of it is the price, right? So all of these things come at a much lower price than Enterprise or Enterprise Plus. So customers are actually, okay with to have superior backup capabilities, some of these features that we talked about, then, VDPA comes at a much cheaper price tag than Enterprise or Enterprise Plus. It's just the licensing. It doesn't even account for the CapEx savings that come from the storage, right? Into objection handling, we often hear about instant recovery, and the instant recovery that we always caution about to customers is that in those situations, the VM will run from a backup data repository, and most likely your backup data repository, it does not have that same kind of performance which our primary production facility will be able to provide you. So your VM will suffer performance issues, and in cases where that is not acceptable, then instant recovery is not going to be acceptable for those customers. So instead, use VDPA, which can do those faster restores back to your original location, get your production environment up and running quickly. Well, the VDPA equivalent of Sure Backup is automated backup verification. It provides that same ability to actually test backups in an isolated sandbox environment and do this in the most non-disruptive and automated way, and then provides the reporting that is needed at the end. VDP is an agentless solution, maybe, but for backups, but for applications like Exchange and SQL Server Point, you do need those agents if you're going to be able to provide those app-consistent, granular backups and restores, not just for virtualized applications, but also for physical applications, right? So that's why the agents make sense and allow that ability to have that single pane of glass used for VDPA. The items we have got usually are around tape, and yes, tapes are cumbersome. They are not going to be secure when you're shipping them from one location to another. And the solution that we want customers to move towards, and indeed, tapes are going to become more and more outdated as time goes on, is to actually use replication. In this case, replication is not expensive, not something additional that you're paying for. It comes built in with the solution, and it, again, is equally simple to use because it's right there. You could just configure a simple replication job just like a backup job, and you're able to move your data off-site. So usually, how we would tackle the backup to the tape piece of it. But if customers really, really have to do it for compliance reasons or whatever reasons might be, then that situation, if the timing or the time factor is not a big issue for them, then there is the ability for VA to also back up to tape. It's not native. It might be a little bit more of a manual process. Take longer, but if they want to do it, say, once in 2 weeks or once in a month or so, then they can actually, set up another VDPA appliance and then replicate the data to that VDPA appliance and then move that appliance to tape. The way to do it is just that it takes longer. There is a blog that's been posted on the vSphere blogs, which actually outlines this process step by step. So you can look at that if that request is coming up frequently. And the WAN acceleration piece, again, we talked about that. Basically, the WAN optimization is built in. There is no need for any additional WAN accelerators from the customer's point of view. So all of these replication features come built in.
Now, we have a question right now, Pooja, around what they're looking for specific position selling or against a specific competitor. Are there any materials for that or any messaging around that?
Yeah, so there are materials for that, which actually your team has, Casey, for the respective competitors, like, the semantics, I think the Acronis and all of those. And we have included them, or if we haven't already included them, they will be in the starter kit on the VDP page on Partner Central. I'll already be there, actually, because the starter kit has been updated.
Okay, we've had that question, so just wanted to verify and make sure. So if you go to Partner Central, you're able to find a startup kit that'll give you a different documentation, a lot of the same information we're giving you today, which is a good start for a lot of you folks, and there is some competitive information out there too.
Right. Then use cases and which are the customers who are going to be a great fit for VDPA. As discussed earlier, it's great for mid-sized vSphere environments. So basically, 800 to 1,000 VMs which need to be backed up. So customers might have more VMs in their environment, and usually customers back up, 60 to 80% of their VMs, maybe not everything. But if you want to back up around 800 to 1,000 VMs, then VDPA is a great fit. So if you want to back up applications, again, Microsoft applications, either virtual or physical, VDPA can also do that through the same vSphere UI. And ROBO is one of the uses that comes out of the replication piece, and I'll show you a diagram in the next slide about how that can play out for the customer. And the folks who have data domain, because we not only have the ability to just integrate with data domain, we also have this joint selling, right, and assets that can actually enable you to pitch the joint solution together. So folks with data domain or are interested in data domain will be a great upsell for VDPA. Now, ROBO piece is, this is kind of an example of how it might look. It will obviously for different customers. But basically, we envision VDPA to actually work on the edge. So basically, VDPA is what is deployed at the remote offices. Again, the simplicity aspect of it, it's more than capable of handling the scale of the data at the remote offices. Just integrates very nicely and can be used easily on a day-to-day basis. And it provides the ability to replicate not just to another VDPA, but also to an Avamar server, right? So if you have a central data center which is running Avamar, and then you have VDPA on the edge, then you can replicate your backups from the remote offices to your central data center. You can even actually replicate your critical VMs using VMware replications. You have that nice ROBO setup going on. But if you don't have your own data center and you want to replicate to a service provider instead, so some of the small customers actually might want something like this, then in that case, those customers will be using VDP Advanced, and they will be replicating part of their backups to a cloud service provider who is providing backup as a service. And VDPA is present in the VSPP program, so you have a number of service providers who are actually rolling out this capability. The set of customers who might be interested were the data domain customers, so folks who are interested in having a purpose-built backup appliance. So a purpose-built backup appliance like data domain will have various additional features built in, which ensure that the backups are not just more scalable, but also that they are more recoverable, they're reliable, and also the efficiency of the whole system is much enhanced. So in this kind of setup, you have VDP Advanced just storing the metadata, and the domain device actually storing the real data, the real backup data. So basically, if you use an analogy of maybe a book, the VDP Advanced is basically storing like the table of contents, so very, very little, whereas the data domain is storing the real pages of the book. So in this case, typically you would need maybe just one VDP Advanced appliance because it's only storing the metadata. And once the data gets written to the data domain device, then the duplication occurs across the entire VM pool. So this actually means that data domain actually deduplicates the data across all the VMs, and it becomes much more efficient. In addition, because VDPA comes with DD Boost built, so the DD Boost software is built into VDPA. Because of that, your backups actually finish faster and your backup window is reduced. Going forward in time, this actually has more room for data growth. So tomorrow, if you're backing up more data, you still have more time in your backup window to actually accommodate for this data growth as well. In this solution is built for DR as well. So if you want to replicate this data from your primary site to another DR site, then as long as it is a like-to-like setup, which is VDPA plus data domain, replicating to another VDPA plus data domain, then the entire setup can be again managed through the vSphere through VDPA. So the metadata gets replicated between the two VDPA appliances, and the real data gets replicated between data domain devices. So the vSphere load is also reduced, and this entire setup continues to be simple to manage. Then, of course, the fact that data domain comes with this invulnerability architecture, which has this additional self-healing structures and additional integrity checks, which ensures that your entire backup and recovery is successful. So in terms of whom to target, because ultimately this is a backup solution, and whenever customers are looking to buy vSphere or vSOM, we have to remind them that backup along with it, because you're going to need to back up those VMs that you're going to run on that, right? The other is folks who might have already got vSphere, say buying more license of vSphere now, but they already got vSphere, right? And they might even tried out VDP. Now VDP is like the base agent which comes with vSphere Essentials Plus and higher. So they might have tried it, or they, if they want, they can give it a test run and see how they like that, and then come back and purchase VDPA as well. These are the data domain folks we talked about, folks who are interested in a purpose-built backup appliance, or folks who are going ahead to buy the components of vSpecs configuration. Because VDPA is available in a couple of the vSpecs configurations as well, it would be a great way to pitch either the data domain or the vSpecs piece as a way to target more VDPA folks. Folks who are basically up for renewals on their vSphere, vSOM, SNS, or on other backup solutions. If they are interested in going ahead with a more VMware solution, then again, VDPA is a great fit. And with virtual SAN coming up very shortly, in Q1, a lot of folks whom we have talked to on the virtual SAN beta customers, there's a huge beta community for that. Almost all of them, about 95% of them, have in fact very emphatically said they would like to have data protection delivered along with virtual SAN. And they're very, very interested in VDPA as a potential backup solution for that. In pricing, as you already knew, VDPA was licensed per CPU, $1,095 per CPU. And this is for virtualized servers, but we very recently added the capability of backing up applications on physical servers. On physical servers, VDPA is licensed per operating system instance or per OSI. So on virtualized servers, it's unlimited CPUs unlimited virtual machines per CPU licensing. And physical servers, it's per OSI with unlimited CPUs again. The price point is the same for both. It's $1,095, whether it's per CPU or per OSI, and the SKU is also the same. There's two licensing metrics, same SKU and same price point. VDP also comes in the acceleration kits, the vSOM acceleration kits, the Enterprise and Enterprise Plus version. These are, usually for, customers, first-time customers, one per customer kind of, and they come with vSOM, about 6 licenses, along with 6 licenses of VDPA. So this is as it was available previously, not much change in this since the last couple of quarters. In terms of margin, on the VDPA side, there is, of course, the standard deal range of 10% upfront. There is also the VDP Advanced Accelerator, which was 20%, and has now been extended to end of June as well. And add that along with the fact if the customer is new, then it'll another 10%. So you get about 40% on the front end right there for a VDPA deal. On the back-end side, you also get additional 10 points for the competency, for the business continuity competency. All of this is calculated off the list price. Now, the accelerator usually applies for, deals which are 6K and above, the deal range basically. But if the deals are less than 6K as well, that same 20% stands, extension of being front end, it is now on the back end. Okay. Additional sales rewards. So in terms of sales rewards, you get about 750 points. And that actually translates to about $150 maybe. If you have, deal of about 6 products, 6 into 150, that's $900 per deal, which is pretty significant. Additional sales rewards in addition to the earlier margins that we talked about. And to show you kind of what the rewards would look like or margins would look like, you're doing a VDPA and data domain play. So you have those VDPA discounts that we talked about earlier. In addition, you have the up to 31% discounts for EC data domain as well. And along with that, you have the 850 bounty, which Eric talked about earlier as well.
Can I add something here, please?
Absolutely.
So for those of you who are looking at this slide and you're considering how to pitch this whole solution to your partners, and if you have particular partners that are maybe skeptical about programs that you pitch, this is something you can put in front of them that will get their attention for sure. So what we're saying here is that a partner can get up to 50% margin for VDPA and 31% margin for the data domain half of the solution. So there's a great amount of margin here for this backup recovery solution that we're describing today. Thanks, Pooja. Back to you.
Thank you. I think that was the last slide, actually. Casey, is there?
That it was. So we did have one question across the queue, and if anyone does have any questions, please just throw it in the Q&A or in the chat, and we're going to open it up now for more of a question and answer session. So if you have anything, we're more than happy to answer that. There was one question around agents, and I just wanted to clear up how agents work and what's going on there. So VDPA is an agentless solution, meaning you don't have to install an agent into every VM that you have in the environment. The reason you have agents are for SQL, Exchange, and SharePoint backups. And the reason being so we can get granularity on those databases. So if I want to restore a specific SQL database on a server, I can. If I want to do a mailbox recovery for an end user, I can. And that's why we have to have those agents. Out of that, VDPA is agentless. So for all other VMs or just VMs in general, you don't require an agent. Questions, please toss them in there, and we definitely are grateful that you've joined us today, and hopefully you've learned something new and are a little bit more excited about, or hopefully a whole lot more excited about VDPA and sales of that product. So I have a question here. The VDPA accelerator for deals below 6K. Okay, Pooja. Is there a minimum, or is that 20% good for even one CPU?
There is no minimum for that. So all deals below 6K get that 20% on the back end.
Anyone else?
And while being, just updates. So the start kit on Partner Central has all of these things that we talked about. So the customer presentation, information about the pricing and the margins, and also has other technical resources like an offline demo. So it's a very quick, simple click-through offline demo. Basically, it kind of walks you through all the aspects that you can show to your customers. So it makes it really, really easy to actually demo the solution. And of course, additional YouTube videos and such which are available on the general web for customers to, you can point out to the customers if they want to refer to it.
We do, on top of that, we do have a new resource coming out as far as information and sales materials for VDPA. We refer to it as M-Tools. If you have an Android and iOS device, you can go out and download the VMware Partner University mobile application, and you go out and find the M-Tools around VDPA and have a nice little suite of materials that help educate you further, but also you could use as almost flip charts for your customers. So out on the sales call or you're having a conversation, you can share that with them. And they'll also be up in a few weeks on the Partner University. So there was a question just to clarify that, just to confirm, registered partners cannot purchase VDPA. Correct, right? Registered partners can purchase VDPA?
Question again, please?
Partners, can they or can they not purchase VDPA?
That's a really good question. Can you get an email address and we'll get back to that person? That's a really good question. I believe the answer is yes, because it's as complex as a solution as vSOM, for example. I'll have to look into that.
We have no coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to confirm, make sure that there's no miss out there about it. So you are talk email address.
I think the issue here also is registered is actually going away as a partner type. It's available to the enterprise, and then the professional partners definitely. Registered is actually changing its name. They announced at PEX that registered was going away.
So facing some dramatic changes that affect this also.
Yes, exactly.
Are there any other questions? I'm not seeing anything else come through. And it looks like we're going to be able to give you about 10 minutes back in your day. So again, we just, as a team, we want to thank you and really encourage you to go out and sell VDPA, happy sales, and really feel that you have a strong product that you can be able to stand behind, because we know we do. So thank you again for your time, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you.